Welcome to the Unrefined Project. I'm Travis. This is my buddy David.
The cool guy.
Today we have Kenny McCormick on the ones and twos for us. Thank you, Kenny. Happy birthday, by the way. So just wanted to get a few housekeeping things out of the way quickly. We finally figured out housekeeping, just a little tidying the room, making your bed here. We finally figured out how to get our streaming stuff together. So we do have episodes up on Spotify and Google at the moment.
Google's waiting for authorization.
Okay.
Which, if we don't get it, that's because we're assholes.
Yeah, well, okay. So the jury's still out on Google,
yep.
And apparently Apple's being a little bitch.
Can't figure that one out. Having problems doing anything on Apple. Apple's it's so stupid. You can't just add your RSS feed. If anybody out there knows how to do it, comment down in the comment section, please.
We're
just
trying to get our shit together here.
We've done everything we can. I've contacted them. They're not helping at all. That'd be cool to find out how to do it.
Yeah, so
I'm a little tech dummy, so
we're getting some kinks worked out there, but we're trying to become a little bit more accessible for everybody. Last time on the podcast, at the very end, I spoke about an individual who was running for governor, California. I could not remember his name. Michael Schellenberger has just announced his go for governorship for 2022. He's the author of San Francisco. He is a homeless solution expert, I guess you could say, or he was advising Newsom and his administration on potential ways to go about attacking the homelessness problem. And at one point it actually said that he thought that Newsom, could handle it, was doing a good job, etc., but then saw everything play out over the last year and a half and nothing really changed. So he's a big proponent of nuclear, which I'm completely ignorant on. We talked a little bit about that, which is why he was brought up in the first place. So just wanted to clear things up there with Michael Schellenberger. And thirdly, we are adding our first book to the physical library. Spoke a little bit about this last time, a couple episodes ago. We have a physical library list on our website, theunrefinedproject.com. And this is my pick. David doesn't know much about this gentleman. However, his name is James Rickards. And he wrote this book, Currency Wars, in 2014. And I was watching him on an interview on Stansberry Research this week, and he was talking about this book. Him and Daniela were actually discussing the first couple of chapters, and it's a very interesting discussion. They did war games, and they wanted to war game out some currency issues if the global financial markets were to go to war with each other, right? So he is a author. He's written a couple books as of late, and I think he's got 4 or 5 under his belt. Anyway, he's an author, counselor, investment banker, and risk manager with more than 30 years of experience in capital markets. He advises the Department of Defense, the U.S. intelligence community, and major hedge funds on global finance. And he discussed a little bit of it. I just wanted to read just a short excerpt out of his book in the second chapter here, discussing.
Okay, while you do that, I'm going to do my little ASMR videos over here, sipping my little drink.
You're just going to give us a little. It'll be quick, I promise. So after a few hours of instruction, orientation, and snap training on the groupware, we broke out into our separate capitals to work on Move 1. Okay, so this is essentially the first strategic move that they're doing in these war games. This broadly involved a long-term trade agreement between Russia and Japan that would reduce the availability of Russian oil and natural gas to the rest of the world. The big idea in Move 1 was that Russia would leverage its natural resources to improve its foreign currency reserve position.
Sounds familiar.
That is some foresight, if I can be.
How old is that book?
This was written in 2014. Again, Currency Wars, James Rickards is just a gangster when it comes to this kind of stuff. He was on Stansberry Research, did about a 25-minute interview, and he's just dropping red pill after red pill. It is very, very interesting. I really enjoy him. And it was a good a good YouTube video. The other one I wanted to talk about, which I didn't really know, and help me explain this a little bit, but Mike Maloney is another individual I watch on YouTube all the time. Love his content that he creates. And he was talking in his newest video, The Digital Slavery Dollar. He was talking about some graphs that he uses to kind of forecast some stuff, and he said they just disappeared, which has been happening a lot, I guess, for our graphs and stuff that we pull from our government. And he was talking about this thing called the Wayback Machine.
It's just an internet archive, right? So you can type in, you pick your website address, and you go to the Wayback Machine, and there's a place to input it. You put that in, and it takes snapshots over time of every single website out there, right? So if you want to see something from 2015 that's no longer there on a specific website, you type in that web address. Boom, you could see it if it was recorded. Sometimes they're recorded, sometimes they're not. I don't know what they're, how they do that. But you can go all the way back to the early 2000s with it. It's pretty cool.
Are there certain like thresholds? Like if it's too spicy, for example, it'll get taken down for like inappropriate content?
No, it's just snapshots of the internet.
So it's not necessarily like censored or
fact-checked
in any way?
Who knows about that, right?
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure the government can do whatever they want at that point, right? They could.
It's not the first
we
time.
We don't know, right? What we see on there is all we can see. If they've taken the website down, you go on the Wayback Machine and there's no snapshots of it, well, then maybe there's something, deeper, something more nefarious going on. Or not. We don't know. Sorry, guys. My nose is a little clogged up. It's not COVID. I wish it was. I do wish it was. I wish I had COVID finally. Just get it done and over
But
with.
you're not going to get paid for it anymore.
They're still paying us here in the state.
No, they are not.
Yes.
That's pure insanity.
I wish I'd get it just so I can get it done and over with. If it kills me, good for you guys. Then you don't have to watch this shit.
Then I'm going to have to find another partner for this thing. So hopefully
you can always use Kenny.
Hopefully it's just Omni Delta variant.
Yeah, the Omnicorn
12.
Omnicorn number 12, baby.
So yeah, that was interesting. He talks about a few things that I kind of wanted to bring. I know this has been beaten to death, this whole Ukraine-Russia thing, but it's just about these sanctions and how we were doing sanctions way back in the day and how they didn't necessarily have the same outcome and consequences that we were expecting, right? So apparently Putin, after we stopped trade with him, said, you know what, even if you're banning us, we're going to ban you from our exports.
Yeah.
So like potash and urea, for example, go directly into fertilizer creation, which is already
they have one of the biggest fertilizer companies, Uralkali. They actually sponsor an F1 team. They were just kicked off the F1 team at the beginning of this whole Russia-Ukraine conflict, and so was the son, which was one of the drivers.
Because they were working for the Kremlin?
Well, he's good friends with, I guess, he's a Russian oligarch. The guy that owns I think it's Uralkali or something like that. I think that's how you pronounce it. His son is what do they call him? I forget his son's name, but they actually kicked them off of out of the team, out of Haas, because they dropped the sponsor. The son's no longer driving for them.
All because of alleged ties with.
No, there is ties to him.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
He's a Russian oligarch. Kenny might know the name of the son that's driving. I don't remember.
Looking it up.
But he
The team is
he sucked anyways.
Haas,
It's Haas Racing, and all because of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, they kicked him off.
That's
So
crazy.
I thought it was pretty,
Because, he invaded.
Well, he's there's a lot of pictures of him and Putin. They're actually pretty close. He's a Russian oligarch, right?
Yeah.
And it goes back to your fertilizer thing. It's one of the biggest fertilizer companies in the world by far.
So that's, not going to exacerbate food shortages or anything, right? I mean, that's...
neither is the wheat that we're missing from Russia and Ukraine and stuff like that now, right?
Well, especially since a lot of that goes to feed the cattle and livestock in the first place, right? It's not necessarily food for us, but it's food for our food.
Yeah.
The driver was Nikita Mazepin.
That's right, Mazepin. They called him Mazepin, right? He spun out a lot. He sucked bad. He's there basically because his dad was the main sponsor, other than Haas. And now he's no longer there because they got rid of the dad as the sponsor and the son because they're ties to Russia.
So the only reason he was racing potentially in the first place is because of nepotism?
Yeah, because his dad pays for it. Well, it's F1, right? It's the stupid rich sport to get into in the first place, right?
Do you think this would be a bigger scandal in the sport if he were a good driver? If he were like a vetter or...
Vettel, you mean?
A
veteran?
No. Who was the guy that was smashing it last year in F1? The big name.
Verstappen.
There it is.
Yeah.
Like if he was a good driver, do you think this would...
If he was a good driver, I don't think he would have had to have his daddy's money to put him in.
Oh, good point.
Right? Verstappen's daddy doesn't pay any sponsorship to Red Bull, and he drives for Red Bull. So there's that, right? But there's, like I said, there's our fertilizer. That's a huge portion of the world's fertilizer comes from Russia.
Well, and the precursors to fertilizer, which is potash, which comes out of the Ukraine, right? So there was a story out of China. I guess there's some guy that was like, nickel. nickel is another thing that Russia is banning exports on.
Yeah.
Nickel and precursory parts, metals to batteries.
Yeah.
Right. So, switch over to all of your electric cars there. PV Butt told you, and then, wait on China and Russia to give you the components for your batteries. That should work out pretty well.
That makes perfect sense.
Anyhow, so Jim Rickards was talking about how these sanctions have repercussions that we can't really take account for, right? There's variables that we just can't really, predict. And apparently there's some billionaire in China that lost like $5 billion last week because nickel went 3x and he was short a bunch on this nickel.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, okay, so we're sanctioning Russia and we're like, technically China doesn't have anything to do with it, yet some billionaire in China just lost his ass because we're sanctioning Russia, right?
Yeah.
So it's just this idea about how sanctions don't always go the way that we plan. And if we use them too often, they lose their teeth, which I think is very interesting.
I don't think sanctions should be... I don't think we should sanction anybody. I mean, if you're going to get involved, sanctions are not the way to go, right? Sanctions are just trying to hurt an economy of now, if in this case, if the Russian people were the ones invading Ukraine, by all means, sanction them.
That's what I was going to say. It doesn't necessarily hurt.
It doesn't hurt the oligarchs.
Right.
They're set. They got their money, right? They're
It's
done.
just gonna hurt the little people that
It hurts the little people. Yeah, that's all it does, right? So before this whole thing, their buses and their trains used to run on what was it, Apple Pay and Google Pay and all that stuff. I don't know if it's called Google Pay, whatever it's called. They used to run on that. They can't use it anymore, right? So they went over to the Chinese system that's now in place, so they can go to work and they can get their stuff done. But what do you think that's doing? Do you think that's making them hate the West? Or do you think that's making them hate Putin and their oligarchs more? Because on their side, all they're seeing is that we're the bad people.
Well,
right?
so that's
their propaganda.
That's actually perfect because another thing that they were discussing was a couple of other announcements. Russia wants to sell all the gas in rubles now, right?
Yeah.
Which is going to force some speculative markets on the U.S. dollar versus, we got a little guest here. We can
you want to speak?
shine in on the cuteness there real quick.
You want to speak on the microphone?
Hi, Dutch. She just wandered in real quick, wanted to check out what's going on. But yeah, it's pretty interesting because now he wants to sell off his gas in rubles, and they're talking about how he has all this gold, but nobody, they basically banned him from selling his gold or converting his gold. Any of the proceeds are going to prevent from happening, right? But what's stopping him from just going to China and being like, hey, I got all this gold. You want to buy it?
It's not. They already are.
We're starting to push these people.
They
into each other's
already
arms with
are.
this kind of stuff,
They
right?
literally already are. Like I said, what was it last week? They're literally buying Russian assets, meaning precious metals. Companies, they're buying them for pennies on the dollar, right? They're basically, China is buying this stuff, funding Russia's war against Ukraine under the radar, right? And nobody seems to say anything about it.
That's a big crazy
right? And think about it. We buy our stuff from China. I mean, half the stuff on the table is probably made in China. I mean, except for this, right? Except for these cups, not these cups.
Yeah, they're made right here in California.
And this definitely wasn't. The glass might have been. You never know, right?
Yeah.
So basically, we're funding China, funding Russia, funding the war while we're sanctioning Russia.
We're booing ourselves.
Yeah, right. It's just a big circle, right? All these people for a long time wanted to go globalist, right? This is proving that globalist does not work.
Yes, this is a big conversation I get into with my father-in-law a lot. Is this whole idea of global trade?
Yeah, people don't have the same values, right? The West does not have the same values as the East, and I'm not talking about literally West and East. I'm talking about cultures, right? They're not the same values, and the more we try to combine them and put them together, the more shit happens that we see, like places like Iran, Iraq. The problems we're having there, the problems we have in Russia, the problems we have in other countries.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're trying to force our opinions on them when they're not those type of people.
They
right?
didn't ask for them.
You can't
don't want them.
Correct. You can't give them an iPhone and say, all right, now you're free people. Right? That's not the way it works, right? They haven't been free people. They probably will never be free people, right?
That's the problem with bringing these countries onto bringing them up to a single stage, right? Bringing them up to a single table.
Sorry about that. My dogs are barking for no reason.
We have a certain amount of assumed respect and a certain amount of assumed rules that they're playing by.
Yeah.
We're not playing by the same rules. I mean, we might have had slave labor at one point. It was a huge contingent.
Everybody had slave labor at one point.
But we don't have it anymore.
No, we got rid of it, and there's a lot of countries that still have it.
You know, some socialists,
One being China,
some
right?
socialists with like pink hair would argue with me that we still live in like some modern day slave society with capitalism. But all that aside,
No,
I mean,
no.
we literally don't use slave labor to make our goods and services like other countries do in the world.
Absolutely not.
Right. So-
Yeah. There's that's a Western culture thing, right? And you know, we go into other countries and we try to force this upon them. And I remember there was it was a while back when I think it's Xi Jinping, the president of China, was basically telling us to mind our own business when it came to us talking about the Uyghur Muslims, right? He basically told us, hey, mind your own business. Clean up your own house first. You guys haven't, that was, I think, during all the George Floyd riots,
Yeah.
saying, hey, you got all these cop killings and all this kind of stuff, you know, from what our media was pushing, which wasn't true in the first place. He did die. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
Well, it was just expedient. It was used
it was used as something to
further
rile
an agenda.
everybody up,
Yeah,
right?
It was to further an agenda. There was a shooting that just happened in South Carolina a couple weeks ago, cop-involved shooting.
Yeah.
The tape was just released a couple weeks ago. It happened in January, February. Out of shape, overweight, female officer was responding to a police chase. She was behind the vehicle. The vehicle crashed. I'm not saying this individual is, justified in his actions. He was obviously fleeing from the law. He's, obviously a bad person. He crashed into a pole, into a ditch. The police officer exited her vehicle without her flashlight. So she was running up to the vehicle, did not see a ditch, and she slipped in the mud. Sirens are going off. This dude had just crashed. He's coming out of the car, passenger, and she's on her back. She cannot get up.
Yeah.
And it's all on video, looks as though he might have lunged at her. She pulled her pistol out and shot him.
What color was he, though?
That's why you haven't heard about it
Right.
on the news yet.
What color
because
was he?
I'll give you one guess.
White.
What
He
color?
was white.
Nope. He was black.
He was black.
What color was a police officer?
White?
No, she was black. That's why you haven't heard it. It does not fit the narrative, right?
Yeah.
This kind of stuff happens all the time. There was the kid, Teeny Timfa, that literally had his neck knelt on by a police officer. White kid, died almost the same way that George Floyd did.
Yeah.
During the same exact time. White officer, white suspect, you don't hear about it.
Yeah,
So
there was
it's-
also the
it's
one
tailored.
around the same time, the kid literally on the floor crawling through the apartment. He had a BB gun in his back pocket. He was told to get down on the ground, literally crawl. I've seen the video, it's horrible. Crawling on the ground.
He was a pest, vermin, a pest exterminator. He was
Yeah.
an exterminator, and he had air rifles.
Yeah.
He was in a hotel room. He was seen through a window with a rifle in his hand, and the cops were called.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Said, get down. He was literally crawling, and he went
He was crying.
He might have moved a little bit too much one way, but guess what? That didn't get the media attention.
Nope.
Why didn't that get the media attention, right?
That dude was actually had a dust cover on his AR-15 that said like "you fucked up" or something
Yeah.
like that, right? He was discharged from that police department, but then he was actually able to go back and get like a pension for life because he claimed that he got PTSD from that incident. Him shooting an unarmed man in a hallway, crawling on his hands and knees, gave that officer PTSD and allowed him a paycheck for the rest of
We'll
his
have to do a whole episode on
It's just the media.
policing and
It's
how it
it's-
needs to change too.
But this kind of
needs
stuff
more
is-
training. I would agree with that. And then the media, the way they spin it, they spin it and they spin it and they keep their stupid, smug ass attitudes about how they're right, we're wrong. I don't care if this gets kicked off. I don't like it. I think it's wrong, and I think people need to wake up and see what they're hearing is not always the truth. They're hearing one side of the story. It's just like in any divorce, right? You only hear the one side of the story. Well, there's always two sides. No matter what you do, there's always two sides. The guy that one of the officers involved that actually got shot during the Breonna Taylor raid, he's got a book coming out. Daily Wire had to publish it because the publisher wouldn't publish it for him because it was such a hot topic.
Right.
So the Daily Wire actually came out and they said, okay, well, we're going to start publishing books. Let's do it. You know what I mean? And he tells the truth about that whole thing. And, and then the media played it up. I remember that. They played it up, and then Trump had some get-together. Rand Paul was there, right? And then Rand Paul was leaving the get-together. It was like, at the White House or something like that. I forget what it was. he was leaving that, and a bunch of people crowded around Rand Paul and started saying, "Say her name, say her name,"
yeah.
talking about Breonna Taylor.
I remember that.
Did you know he's the one that started that whole trying to get the law passed for the no-knock warrants under her name?
Yeah.
Because he thought it was wrong what happened.
He co-sponsored the bill.
He co-sponsored the bill, and people were crowded around him, screaming at him, threatening him.
That just goes to show you
They
the
don't-
power of emotion and getting people whipped up to push an agenda. These people don't actually know.
That shows you the power of the media.
Well, that's the problem.
You can
know,
co-sponsor
again,
a bill to help something. The media doesn't tell you that. They say, that's the bad guy, go get him. And everybody goes and gets him. You're getting the wrong guy.
Yeah, but then
You
you
know
can
what I
turn
mean?
around and say that his neighbor tackled him when he was out mowing his lawn, and a bunch of people cheer and applaud, right? Oh, he broke 3 ribs and then got pneumonia, ha ha ha, right?
yeah.
Because he believes something that I don't. So it's just the hypocrisy in the media. I mean, these kind of atrocities happen, unfortunately, all the time.
We need to get that. We need more people to understand that you can't trust MSNBC, CNN, Fox, any big media. You gotta read into it, right? They're there to have a story. If it's not salacious and all that, they're not gonna. Nobody's gonna watch it. Nobody wants to watch someone's
It's fear
happy
porn.
life, right? They always and they make it up as it goes, and it's just getting annoying. It's getting bad. You know what I mean?
It's definitely not getting better.
And it causes so much more problems than it's worth. I truly believe that, and people buy into it hook, line, and sinker. I know quite a few people, bought into that stuff hook, line, and sinker.
Well, that's what it's designed to do, though. Remember, they're attempting to divide and conquer us, so we don't band together and go after the real people that are the problem.
Yep.
You keep us drugged up and dumbed down and fighting over some stupid
All right,
shit.
sorry. What were you talking about before? I just went off on a tangent.
Well,
my
no,
bad.
that's what this is all about. Is these kind of things. But we were talking about just media influence in general.
Yeah.
And how they can cherry pick certain stories or news that happens in the country and use it to further their narrative. And it's just.
And it's weird because people will say, "Oh, what narrative are they trying to follow?" They're just, But if you actually dig down deep into it, they're divisive. They're creating.
It's the salami method. You want to know. You want to know what it is. The salami method. You can go on Wikipedia. You can look up what the salami. The salami method is essentially divide and conquer. It's slice these groups up into subgroups, and then take these subgroups and slice those subgroups into even more subgroups to where it gets to a point where it's like they used to duel back in the day.
And now they call them the victim hierarchies, right? Is that kind of
the
the same
oppression
thing?
Olympics?
Yeah.
The oppression Olympics, right? You start getting to the point where it's like, I'm an oppressed, transgendered, man.
Yeah.
Right. And then the next person comes along and they say, I'm an oppressed, transgendered black man. Right. So now my level of oppression is higher than yours. Therefore, I'm higher on the.
Isn't that weird? I don't remember that when I was a kid. I really don't remember that. I grew up in the mid 80s, whatever. I was born in the early 80s. I don't remember this. I remember everybody got along. Didn't matter what race, it didn't matter what color you were. It didn't matter any of that stuff. Everybody band together for Rodney King. Everybody knew that was wrong on the cops' parts, right? It didn't matter what color you were there. Everybody knew it was a step too far.
But I mean, even then,
right, and then there was still riots and stuff like that.
That's because the media was doing the same thing that
the
they
media
do now.
went and hyped it up, but we all agreed they went a step too far, right?
I mean, same shit with OJ. There was this thing on Reddit a couple weeks ago, like a montage of OJ, everybody watching the verdict come out. Like,
didn't a bunch of people go out and buy those Ford Broncos after that too?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't remember if they bought them all or if they sold all theirs or something. I think it got more popular, just like the Ryder van after the Timothy McVeigh bombing in Oklahoma. Ryder lost a lot of money over that because nobody wanted to rent a Ryder van.
Really?
Yeah, the big yellow van that he blew up the Oklahoma City building with. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that happens all the time, unfortunately, with these like mass shootings too, right? The first thing that comes out is like what kind of firearm was used. And then like everybody goes to like see if that's what they have in their safe to see if the gun goes up in value.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
What do you think about Kyle Rittenhouse destroying his gun?
He didn't destroy it.
He had it destroyed. They filmed it, and it was on. I forgot where I watched it, but
I thought the police department destroyed it.
No, So since he was found not guilty, he had the option to get the gun back, right? And he told them he wanted it destroyed. So they filmed it being destroyed.
Did they cut the barrel off first?
I don't know how they destroyed it. I don't remember watching it, but I know that
if you ever want to destroy
they put it in it was like a massive wood chipper for metal. It was It was crazy.
If you ever want to destroy a long gun or a rifle, guys, start by cutting the barrel off first. You make it shorter than 16 inches. That's the first step to destroying any gun.
Don't do that.
That's the best way to go about things. Or you can just send it to me and I'll destroy it for you.
Yeah. Don't cut the barrel. If you're gonna
you actually just inadvertently created a short-barreled rifle, and that
SBR.
is a felony. And you'll go to jail for a long time. So
don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't listen to this guy.
That was just a gaffe, as they say. Okay, so getting back on topic here, we have a couple of memes that we've compiled here, and going back to just the potash and the urea exports, which urea is also used for diesel fuel now, FYI. So that's gonna further exacerbate gas prices and the cost of shipping things. But also we had a little bit of a food shortage discussion. A lot of people remember the big guy saying that food shortages are going to be real. Number 3 on the old clippy clip here, please, Kenny. There we go. Thank you, sir. So he was up discussing. I don't even know where he was with. Is this him in Poland?
I don't know. But if you look at those, the military right there, all those guys don't look like they like him at all.
Yeah. So for our audio listeners, we have a little meme here. A picture of former Vice President Joe Biden talking about how food shortages are, quote, going to be real. And then we have another picture down here of him with the troops in Poland, I believe, and they're all sitting around waiting for their food, and the big guy is eating his pizza. So pretty customary for leaders in the military to wait for all of their boys to eat first. But, there we have it. Food shortages are going to be real for everyone.
I don't know. I can't get past the way they're looking at him. They look like they just want to take him out right now.
Well, they definitely look like they want to take his lunch money or introduce him to Corn Pop. Take him out behind the back, show him the rain barrel.
Yeah, right.
But I thought that was pretty ironic. But irony is lost most of the time. So talked a little bit about Maloney here. Oh, one more thing I thought was pretty interesting because people keep talking about how Russia's gold doesn't mean anything. Jim mentions in 2014 when he wrote his book, Russia and China both had about 600 tons of gold. Remember, this is like officially, so they probably have some hidden somewhere that they're not reporting, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, of course.
Guess how much tonnage Russia and China have in gold now?
What is it?
Russia has 2,300 tons of gold now.
That's a lot.
From 600, and China just surpassed 2,000.
Wait, what's the math on that? What did you say it was, 2,300 tons?
2,300 tons.
Let's do the math on that real quick.
That's
sorry to bore you guys,
but shit ton of gold.
I don't want to confirm. Dude, Apple sucks.
Yeah, Apple, get your shit together. We're trying to stream to the masses here, and
they're trying to get me to pay for my calculator on here. 2,300 tons.
Can we have our people talk to the Apple people and get this going here?
That is 4.6 million pounds. 4.6 million pounds of gold.
It's a lot of gold.
And that's between Russia and China.
No, together. So China just surpassed 2,000.
Yeah, but China uses most of the gold
Russia
in the
has
tips of their
2,300.
buildings.
And don't forget the big necklaces that Gangnam Style wears.
Yeah, Buddhist dolls and stuff like that, right? Did I just call them dolls? I'm messed up.
And we didn't even talk about India, which has a bunch of gold too. But
Buddhist talisman.
That's neither here nor there. So basically, that's kind of a little scary. Actually, talking about some food shortages, the reality that 25-30% of our wheat comes from Ukraine and all of this other stuff that we just
I think Russia and Ukraine are the two top exporters of wheat in the entire world.
Yeah,
and they both are no longer exporting wheat at all.
Well, and that's the thing. It might not necessarily affect us per se, but I mean, certain countries, emerging markets, emerging countries, what 100%.
What that's going to do is that's going to get us selling wheat to other countries because we're going to make a profit off it, right? So of course they're going to sell it to other countries. So it might actually create a wheat shortage here, and people don't realize it's not just for bread. It's cereals. It's a lot of stuff has wheat in it, right? Yep. And I mean, right now is the perfect time to go gluten free, I guess.
Trying. That's a hard bargain there. You know what? But it's just, again, all of this talk, all of this other stuff. It's just like I really feel like they're really trying to get us to look over in this direction when COVID is just. It just doesn't exist anymore. It's completely gone. I still see some people trying to revamp the whole vaccine thing and stuff. We have clip 1 here, over here with HRC, Hillary Rodham Clinton.
All right,
for everybody.
So I'll read this one for the people that cannot, that are not watching this or just listening to it. It says there is a tweet from Barack Obama. I just tested positive for COVID. I've had a scratchy throat for a couple days, but I'm feeling fine otherwise. Sorry about that. Michelle and I are grateful to be vaccinated and boosted, and she has tested negative. That was a typo, right? Shouldn't he have put, and he has tested negative? He's talking about Michelle, right?
You talking about Big Mike?
Yeah, Big Mike. It's a reminder to get vaccinated if you haven't already, even as cases go down. And then I'll let you read what Hillary says. I don't want to repeat any word that comes out of that lady's mouth.
Well, this is probably her PR person, but I'd also like to lump Psaki in here as well, because she came down with the coof, triple vaxxed. I think this is her second time getting it, and she said something very, very similar on her Twitter about this. But HRC came in here and goes, well, I've tested positive for COVID. I've got some mild cold symptoms, but I'm feeling fine. I'm more grateful than ever for the protection vaccines can provide against serious illness. Please get vaccinated and boosted if you haven't already. So there's a couple of phrases there that they both decided to use. They're very specific and very similar to each other. So it just kind of goes to show
Well, we
you.
know the Clintons kill. They don't get killed.
Somebody's handing out the old marching orders here.
Yeah, right.
And I got a feeling at some point they're probably going to be on the losing
Their own
end of
list?
Those lists. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
The Clintons off the Clintons.
so that actually goes in really
Clinton
nicely.
body count. Could you
Clinton
imagine
body
the last two?
Well, that list is getting longer by the day.
Yeah.
As we find out more and more. About,
You know what surprises me is what's her name? Jeffrey Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet.
Well, I mean, what happened to her?
I think she's doing time now. She got convicted of a bunch of counts, and she's actually doing time for it. But I'm surprised she hasn't been.
What was she convicted?
Clintoned,
What was she
right?
convicted of?
Oh, I don't know. You'd have to look it up. There
It's
was a
interesting.
lot of stuff
Like-
she was convicted of, like 60-something counts of.
Sex trafficking?
There was some sex trafficking. I think there was maybe not 60. I'm just spitballing.
All I
here.
know is
don't
like if I'm trying to sell something
yeah,
and I'm trying to make a profit off of something, I need to have somebody to sell it to.
yeah.
It's pretty interesting that we didn't get to hear about any of the consumers of these products that she was potentially selling.
No, they kept that under lock and key
We
pretty
got
good.
no names.
Yeah, besides like Prince Andrew, was it Prince Andrews or something like that?
Yeah, some stuff
And then,
happened with the royal
You know
family.
what's even weirder about that? Remember when the Jeffrey Epstein story first came out?
Mm-hmm.
All we saw from media, left wing media, all we saw was pictures of Trump and him at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
Trump has not been on his plane. Jeffrey Epstein was rich and came to Mar-a-Lago and actually got kicked out of Mar-a-Lago at one point. He banned him because he was being mean to one of a waitress, a young woman that worked there. He was being a little over aggressive with her. So Trump booted him from Mar-a-Lago, took away his membership. But they never, on the same news sites, now this is only on the left wing sites, they never talked about how close his ties were with Bill Gates.
Mm-hmm.
They never talked about how close his ties were with Mr. Bill Clinton.
Old Billy.
Old Slick Willie.
Slick
is what
Willie,
they
there
used
it
to call
is.
him back
Slick
in the
Willie
day.
with that sax.
You know, they never mention that.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to go to Fox to see it, and then you get, the right wing side of things. So people that do watch CNN, MSNBC, and stuff like that, they're only going to get one side of the story, right? We need a neutral fucking source. I don't know where we're going to get it. I don't know how we're going to get it. I think we need to do this kind of stuff.
I was just going to say, this is where you get it.
This is the only place to do it.
I will always and continue to encourage more and more people to do this because it just diversifies the wealth of information the pool of information that one can pull from.
Yeah, but some left wing person's going to watch this and be like, fuck those guys, they're right wing. Or some right wing guy's going to, nut job's going to hear something we say that's semi straight down the middle and be like, fuck those guys, they're lefties, right?
But I mean,
they're
You are fake news.
Yeah, there you go. We're fake news, right? But we're just doing an opinion piece, guys. This is just how we feel. We're normal people. This is exactly how we see what's going on in our world. We are not conspiracy theorists by any means.
I mean, people have definitely called me a conspiracy theorist.
And you've been right about a lot of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You start believing conspiracy theories when they start coming true, right? Alex Jones is one of them, right? He throws spaghetti at the wall, and sometimes some of that spaghetti sticks.
He's been right
and
about
it's some
things.
of the weird things that you would be like, no, that's way too far out there. Those are the ones that stick.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Well, and that's what it is.
And I'm not talking about just the frogs and stuff like that. You know, it's the
lizard
ones.
people.
That lizard people went. You know, watch that comes true. That'd be horrible.
The reptiles that are
Yeah.
that are running that we're paying our taxes to. Yeah, I mean, well, you know what's interesting? I love that you brought him up because he actually was in the news recently. He missed a court date for his Sandy Hook bullshit.
Yeah.
I guess he had a hearing or a deposition or something, and he claims that he has long COVID.
Yeah.
And that he's having like some health issues, and that he couldn't get up to be present for the date or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just find that it's almost like kind of like not really a straw man argument, but that's always the one thing that everybody goes to as soon as you bring Alex Jones up, right? They're like, oh, well, he lied about
Sandy Hook, yeah.
children dying in Sandy Hook. I'm like, come on, bro. Can we
He did, but you can't castigate somebody for making mistakes, right?
We
all make mistakes. Everybody
but
does.
if we start talking about like just some of the things that dude has been super close on, I mean, even the war in Ukraine, right? He called it down to the month.
Yeah, he did.
Dude called it down to the month. It's like, at what point do we start discrediting everything somebody says for a slip up?
See, that's like the boy who cried wolf, though, right? You can't believe everything somebody says, so you just discount everything.
Well, I think you have
that
to.
He does say, you just got everybody just ends up discounting it when there's some underlying truth behind some of this stuff, right?
And you have to listen to it all. You have to assess it all on an individual basis, and use a grain of salt when you assess these kind of things. But
absolutely, big grain of salt.
So there's another Alex in the limelight as of recently. His debut has been a little bit of like a internet viral sensation thing. Let me know if you've heard of this or not. There's this individual named Alex Stein, or as he's more famously known as.
I think you brought him up to me once.
Primetime Stein, or Primetime number 99 Stein.
Yeah.
Anyway, this guy is from Texas, and he's started trolling city council meetings.
Yeah.
And he dressed up in some like fatigues that he got from a military surplus store and was like attempting to recruit people in the city council for World War III. He was like showing pictures of Zelensky, and he's like, this is what a real hero looks like. And he like pointed to one of the guys in the city hall, and he's like, Paul, you will never know what it's like to be a president.
Yeah.
So he like goes around with this piece of paper trying to recruit people. And then this other one, he's like rapping. He has this like rap song, and he's like dancing and bopping to the beat. And he's
I think you played that. You sent that to me, right?
I'm sure. This is just my favorite. So anyway, he was on You Are Here a while ago.
Yeah, he was at a board meeting, and he starts rapping into the microphone. It was pretty funny.
Gas prices are way too high, so Putin's got to die. And he like takes hand sanitizer. He's like spraying all over himself. Anyway, it's hilarious. He was just a guest host on You Are Here in place of Elijah Schaffer on his podcast the other day, and he's talking with Savannah, who used to work with Alex Jones. And she literally says, like, you remind me of this dude so much. You are the next Alex Jones. And this dude can be totally dumb. I kind of like went through YouTube last night showing my wife who this guy was. And there's a bunch of old videos. He was on some like reality TV show back in 2014 and stuff. Anyway, he's absolutely hilarious. And as funny as he is, he just drops these hardcore red pills all throughout his little comedy spiels. Anyway, I just love what he's doing. Big shout out to Alex. We would love to have you on our show if we ever get big enough. So that'd be cool. But yeah, it's just really funny. Like all these Alexes here in the news, and as they go through this cycle, there will be something else next week, and we'll completely forget about it. Yeah. But I thought that was kind of funny. We have one more here, and it's kind of relevant. We've been having some individuals in some Senate hearings.
Senate hearings, yep.
And we're talking about some
SCOTUS.
really important stuff in these hearings.
Yeah,
and
right.
we have a one more graphic for you. Number 4 there, Kenny, please.
You sound like Kenny back there.
So again, for all of our audio listeners, we have a.
This is just a funny take on a funny meme take on what's going on. I've got my own opinion about this. I'll go off here in just a second, but don't be offended if you're on the left. Don't be offended. This is just offended. A funny meme. This is a funny meme.
Let us know what you think.
It's funny. It's goes from if you're just listening to this, it's very top has what was her name? Christine Blasey Ford next to Kavanaugh and says believe all women. Underneath that, there's a picture of Amy Coney Barrett, says some women. And then at the very bottom, you see Ketanji, I think his name is Ketanji Jackson Brown, right? The newest one that's getting put on the Supreme Court. It says, what's a woman, and her scratching her head, okay? Because she couldn't answer what a woman was. Now,
I think she full well can answer that question.
She doesn't want to because it wouldn't play to her base very well. Now, this brings me to another point about these, right? We have the votes, the left has the votes. The Democrats have the votes to confirm her, right? Just like when Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, the right had the votes to confirm them. Why do we have this?
So it's, again, just for layman, what is it? Explain it to me like I'm 5 years old.
Layman's terms. All right.
They already have what they need.
They already have
to
enough.
Proceed legally.
They have 50 Senate, and then you got Kamala Harris as tiebreaker. So they already have the Senate confirmation. All right. So both the right and the left do it, and it's fucking annoying. Okay, if you have the Senate confirmation hearings for a justice that you know is going to be voted in, or that you know is going to be pushed through, why do we have the circus of the show? Why do we have, in this case, we had Marsha Blackburn going after her, asking what's a woman, and some other things. And then you have Ted Cruz going after her. They're making good points, right? But what does it matter, right? Why do we have to see this? Why do they even televise this, right? If you've got the votes, just confirm them and get them out of the way. Why do we make a circus out of it every single time?
Well, back to our point earlier, who's televising it?
C-SPAN, MSNBC, CNN,
but then
Fox, every single left, right wing. It's just divisive, right? You're going to sit, whether it was Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, or even in this case, Ketanji Brown, right? I'll just call her Brown because I can't pronounce her first name.
Even just to keep it real, we also had this kind of shit with Neil Gorsuch. We also had this with Merrick Garland.
Yes, we also had it with who's the other one? I think Roberts is the Chief Justice, but the other guy the pube on the Coke can, remember?
No.
You don't remember that one? It was back in, it was a long time ago. They tried to find stuff on him, and they couldn't. But one day at work, he had a soda can, and there was a piece of hair on it. And he just, hey, whose pube is this? That's what they tried to hang him on in the Senate hearings. What was his name? He's a really good justice. But, okay, so back to this.
So it's just theater, essentially.
So we're doing this theater. Who pays for those? Where's the money come from for them to be there, for them to use, all the audio setup they have, all the lights they set up, all the people that are there, the press, everything. Who pays for all that, right?
I would have to assume it comes out of a tax funds,
right? So is it right? Even I'm going to condemn the right wing on this one. The left is horrible. They're going to do what they do, right? They're going to fight and fight and fight and lie and lie and lie until they get their way or cry like babies. The right needs to stop. The Republicans need to just let it go through. Don't question her. She's been soft on pedophilia cases and stuff like that. Yes, we already knew that. Anybody that pays attention to this already knew that. And we don't need to sit there and try to embarrass her on TV to score points. We need to man up. We need to be the bigger person. We need to take the better side. And we need to do what's right. And I'm sick and tired of always stooping down to the left, their ideology of whining, crying, and trying to be the squeakiest wheel. Yeah. I don't like that. I honestly believe Republicans need to stop doing that. She's getting confirmed.
And that's what I don't understand. It's like if you understand the ins and outs of the proceedings and the processes that go into this kind of stuff, if the deed is already done,
correct,
it's literally just like
is it
hit points?
Is it just payback? Is it just payback? Right? They did it to Brett Kavanaugh. They brought up Christina Blasey Ford. They couldn't prove anything. They could not prove anything. Did it happen? I don't know. I don't really care. So he's a good justice, right?
Is there a possibility that they're using this time to potentially change that one swing vote's mind? Or
the only swing votes they've got are what, Manchin and Sinema, right, in the Senate. and they're going to vote party lines because it's a
maybe they
Democrat
can,
nominee,
maybe they can change
right?
NEPAD's mind. Maybe they can get the tiebreaker to vote against her.
No, because what would happen is, so the Senate's 50-50 split right now up until the end of this year, and cross your fingers, it goes red wave, right?
Speaking of theater,
because we need taxes back down. We need our inflation to slow the hell down. We need to produce more oil so we can keep going on in our daily lives to innovate and to keep moving forward as a country. If it doesn't happen, we're just going to have more homelessness. We're going to have more in debt, right? The dollar's not going to be worth anything. But why can't we on our? I'm not even saying I'm on a Republican side. I'm not. I am, but I'm not. Okay. Why can't one of the sides? I don't care which side it is. Be the bigger person. You know what I mean? Why do we keep letting them do this? We keep hiring and voting for these idiots that just sit there and just try to dig their knife into somebody else for no reason.
It's pride. It's all showboating. And
is that pride or is that vengeance at that point, right?
It's pride in a lot of ways, because it's kind of like what I've said about a lot of political leaders and people in positions of power is they take shit too seriously. They take shit too personally, rather. And instead of Trump was flawed in this as well. He would kind of hyper focus on a few things that were gitches, like little.
He was a very flawed man, but he knew how to get. He knew, and I don't know if he believed all the policies that he was enacting, but he enacted them because that's what made him popular. Right.
Yeah, but I mean,
so it worked. That worked for us. It did work for us. Whether people want to agree with it or not, he was a dick. But
policies aside, though,
right?
he definitely had some grudges.
Yes,
right.
He did.
He held on to a few things that, in my opinion, an individual in a position of such power just needs to be water on a duck. Right.
Yeah.
Water. Just greasy shoulders, baby. You know, this the whole sticks and stones bullshit. Blah blah blah. But I feel like, again, if these individuals that are putting on this circus.
It's literally what it is. It's a circus.
They realize that
it's a circus.
They realize that the decision's already been made. The rest of this is literally just for political points, or to get those gotchas, for 10-second clips and for fake internet points. Then that's one thing. If they would actually just come out and say that kind of shit, I think a lot less people would pay attention. A lot less people would, hype it up to this big old deal.
Yeah, because all week it's been the SCOTUS hearing, this and that,
and granted, I will say that a lot of really, really good memes have come out of just the last week.
I think that's the only good thing that comes out of it. All it does is divides us even more. If I sat down with somebody on the left right now, and we talked about politics, we wouldn't get along. But if we talked about life, just about common day, everyday things, how we love our children, how, we pay for our bills, we do this, just common everyday things, we'd have so much in common. We really would. Politics is a very, very small portion of life that we seem to have, and I think it's because it's a 24-hour news cycle, right? When I was a kid, we had an hour a night. You'd see the 5 o'clock news. They'd give you, hey, there was a car accident here. This guy got shot here. The murders went up today. Well, that was pretty much it, right? Until cable news just overtook everything. And
we also have a miniature computer in our pockets now, where even if we pull our Facebook feed up, you get this little hit of news. Or if you're on YouTube, there's this little news segment that'll show a missile on a truck in Kiev, and even though you haven't looked or talked about Ukraine all week, then there's this news story, right? So I think it's much more pervasive, right?
I think we need to bring back cat memes. Cat pictures and cat memes. Remember that?
Yeah, I mean, that's how it started.
That's all it was. It was a bunch of old people showing pictures of their cats and dogs.
It was innocent.
Pets and
I just want
like
Tom back. I want Tom in MySpace back, man. He never stole any of my information.
Yeah.
He never censored me once. He was my first friend. It was great. I love Tom. I miss him
It was just hard to learn how to write HTML to make the page.
Well, hey, that was another thing too. Is when all those people got fired and that reporter told everyone to learn how to code.
Oh yeah, that was yeah.
Just go back to MySpace. You can learn how to code.
Learn how to code right there, yeah.
So we're going to keep this one short. What are we at right now, Kenny?
50 minutes.
50 minutes?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, I think that's enough. I think
Sorry.
I think that'll do
Yeah,
for
there you go.
today. So yeah, we just wanted to brush up on a few things. I don't think this whole Russia-Ukraine thing's going anywhere anytime soon.
I don't think so.
We're definitely going to have some opportunities to talk about it in the future.
I'm
but
sure you guys will hear a lot more about it within the next week and all
You know,
that kind
I-
of stuff before we're back out here.
I and this is just me. This is my opinion. I definitely do think we have some tough times ahead as a country, and I think we really need to start shaping up and be a little bit more independent in our day-to-day lives and
Yeah.
try and relieve some of that dependency on the resources and the institutions and the government, all that stuff, because they're going to be busy. I think in the next time. So. Next week, I'd like to just brush. I know there's plenty of channels on YouTube and plenty of people that devote their entire lives to survival and prepping and all that kind of stuff. But, again, as two normal guys with families and kids and jobs and all that kind of shit, I think there's a few things that we can kind of touch on, just general preparedness. I think that would be a little bit of a fun
We
topic for
can
next
we
week.
could probably do something like that next week. And just a reminder, if you'd like the video, like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. We are up on Spotify as of now with all our episodes. It's just a voice version. It's not the video.
Yeah, we're not high speed like Joe Rogan yet on Spotify, but
we're not that good.
We'll get there one day.
We'll get there
Spotify,
one day.
We'll get there.
That's it. I mean, get up, get off your asses, move around, exercise, stay healthy, eat healthy.
All the stuff that they tell you will make you a white supremacist.
Be responsible for your actions. Personal responsibility is lost nowadays, and that's pretty much why we're in the situations we find ourselves in, is because nobody knows how to take responsibility for their own actions. I just want to leave you with that.
Yeah, man. I think that was good. This has been another episode of The Unrefined Project, and we will catch you on the flip side.
See you
Thank
guys
you for
later.
listening. Bye.